recently sent a story about my grandfather visiting me about a week after his death. Well, that was one of the more comforting things that has happened to me. The next story I'm about to submit actually happened as a dream, but to this day, I feel a very strong connection with it. It all happened about 6 years ago. A 10-year-old girl mysteriously vanished from a sleepover at her friend's house. I never met this girl, and although we only shared the same first name, I had several odd dreams about her after her disappearance. One day, about 1 week after the child turned up missing, I woke up early one morning to go to work. It wasn't like any day though. I woke up feeling very sad and upset. I didn't have any idea why I was feeling like this, but something just wasn't right. So, I continued to get ready for work. When I got there, I still had this bizarre feeling that something big was about to unfold. About an hour into my long workday, I forgot about the feeling and went on with my day. A woman I work with came into work about an hour later and then asked me, "Did you hear they found the missing girl?" All of a sudden this feeling came back. I said yes. They found her in a dumpster wearing her blue nightgown. She replied, "Then did you hear?" I then started to cry uncontrollably and said no. She, the young girl, came to me in my dreams and showed me where she was and told me that I no longer had to play with her because it was time to move on and now she could rest in peace. The woman just looked at me in disbelief and really didn't know what to say, and neither did I. I then realized this poor young soul felt compelled to have someone to be with her. Why she chose me, I will never know. Again, we did share the same first name, but other than that, I cannot explain what happened. Most people I tell this story to have a tendency of just looking at me with an odd expression on their face, but I too believe that it was all just more than a dream. I've never seen any ghosts or had any sort of experiences with the supernatural, but my friend, Amber, has. She was friends with this guy named Seth, whose mother was my high school coach. She was telling me about this house Seth's parents bought in Monticello, Florida, about 45 minutes away from where we live. It was a real old house with lots of land around it. This house is a weekend house for Seth's family. One day, Amber was invited to spend the weekend with them. She told me that on the way up there, they tried to warn her not to get scared because there were ghosts there. She thought they were pulling her leg and was laughing and playing along. When they got there, Amber was impressed with the 2-story wooden house. It was built in some old style from the 1800s, apparently. She walked upstairs to her room for the weekend and was given a tour of the house. Upon entering one room, she smelled something sour and bitter. It was right beneath the attic. She couldn't describe it to me, but let me know it wasn't pleasant. Then, she was led to the attic, supposedly the most haunted room. There were old rusted chains and shackles attached to the walls. A long time ago, a slave owner owned this home. The slaves would be punished by whipping and being shackled in the attic, with no food and water for several days. Amber said she had no eerie feeling, and didn't see anything out of ordinary. Later on that night, Seth and Amber were staying up late and playing games. They dared each other to go up to the attic, knowing the stories behind the deaths of slaves in the attics. When they went up the stairs and turned on the lights, they smelled that sour and metallic smell and saw dark stains on the floor that wasn't there previously. Amber said she had never been so scared in her entire life. She thought her heart was going to stop beating because it was beating so fast and hard. She and Seth went downstairs, wasting no time at all. Amber couldn't sleep at night because she was certain she could hear the groans and cracking. The next day, Amber came straight home and refused to come back to the house again. I talked later on with Seth's mother, my high school coach, and she said it was true. She gave more stories about how she'd find things moving or missing, how she smelled cigar smoke when no one smoked. She told me how she would come home at night and all the lights would be on in the house. She told me she had not seen any ghosts or even felt threatened. She actually thought of them as her friends because they would turn on the lights for her at night when she came home. I wouldn't be able to stand it. Weird, huh? It makes me leery of my own house, even though my parents originally built it. I have a few experiences. In 1976, I was living in an old building, and every night, I would hear footsteps, heavy ones, walking on the floor above me. I then asked the apartment manager, who lived upstairs, and learned that no one did, and there was a crawl space. He checked it, and no one was there. So on a weekend when I knew no one was in the building except myself, I decided that if I heard the footsteps again, I would not be scared. Then the footsteps began pacing all night. I kept my wits and made plans to leave. I left the building. Second experience, about 1985. I was at work early one day, 9th and Market, and was going into the bathroom. A woman went in before me, not less than 1 foot in front of me, and so when I walked into the bathroom, no one was there, and I looked under all the stalls, and still, no one. Yet there was one way into the bathroom and the same way out. The woman just looked like a solid body. The same thing happened once again late one evening when I was going into the bathroom, and I just rushed in just behind her to see her, and when I got in 2 seconds later, no one, not even in any of the stalls. Later I learned that the cleaning staff in the building saw the same thing. They saw the woman enter the bathroom, and they waited for the woman to leave the bathroom, but no one left, and when they went in to find her, she was not there. In 1977, a friend committed suicide. All that weekend that she had died, I was depressed and could not shake the feeling. Then on Monday, I went to my university library, and as I sat there trying to read late in the morning, I hear that someone yelled in my ear, except it penetrated my body, that Holly committed suicide. I jumped and looked around, but people were quiet, and no one was saying anything, and I thought, where did I hear that? And I must be thinking negatively. I became uncomfortable and left the library to shop. When I returned at about 6 p.m. to read, a woman came up to me and said, "We're looking for you this morning. We're talking about you and wanted to tell you that Holly committed suicide." I said, "So this is true what I heard?" I was told to call Holly's husband, and he verified it and said he searched for me the whole entire weekend. The next day, a strange thing happened. In my grief, I meandered my way to work in a different direction, passing a funeral home where I noticed a coffin in a hearse, and my heart and love went out to it. Then, after I got to work, I checked the obituaries for the funeral home where Holly was. It was the same place I passed that very morning, and so I invited a friend to come with me to pay my last respects to Holly at noon. I met my friend at the funeral home, and we were told that Holly had been sent out that morning for cremation. She had been the only one sent out, and she was in that coffin in the morning in that hearse that I passed on my way to work earlier. In 1982, when my father died, I woke earlier in the morning and was calm. Then my mother called to tell me he died. Everyone in my family woke up, and my mother got out of bed, sat by the phone, then it rang, and she got the word. At this time, I could hear people cry. Only the sound came from their body and not their mouth. My brother was in a deep grief and not crying out loud, but I could hear his spirit cry, and he just had a sad look. In 1992, my mother was very ill and in a rehab center. I did not like staying in her house because I thought it was haunted. On this particular morning, it was 5 a.m., and I was typing and printing a letter on the computer. I typed most of the letter, got up and stuck a mug of water in the microwave, and set it for 1 minute. Also, I prepared a plastic cone with filter and coffee in it. Then I rushed back to the computer to print the letter. I added a few lines to the letter, and then began to hear the microwave beep and beep. I ignored it, then the beeping stopped. I got this creepy feeling, but I ignored it, and then I thought the microwave had a timer, and so the beeping stopped because of the timing, not because anyone opened the microwave door. I printed the letter, ran to the kitchen to get the mug of water out of the microwave, and poured in the cone. I found instead that the mug had been taken out of the microwave, and the coffee was made, waiting for me on the ledge of the kitchen counter. Yet I know I did not get up from the computer to make it, because I made a conscious decision to ignore the microwave and finish my letter. My mind worked overtime to figure it out. I grabbed the letter and left the house that morning and told whatever did that it was taking the coffee, but I didn't really appreciate it. Other things happened, like the rustling of papers when I was trying to sleep, etc., and I had to leave the house. Sometimes, I've heard other people think that they were not directing their thoughts to me, as what happens with schizophrenics. Enough for now. This isn't my story, or even the story of the person who told me, but I thought I'd share it anyway. This was told to me by the music teacher at my high school. The college he attended, which I won't mention the name, is up north. I'm not sure when it was built, but the main building of the college was a Catholic monastery. There have always been stories around the college that a monk went crazy and killed himself in the monastery. People in the college have reported strange happenings and sightings of what appeared to be a monk. The story that I know comes from a janitor who works at the college. On the weekends, one of the custodian's jobs is to break down the classrooms. This means that they have to stack up all the desks and chairs up against one wall. The janitor had just finished doing this and walked out the door and locked it from the outside. There is only one door into the classroom, and it is the one he has just locked. The windows in the room can only be opened from the inside, and the janitor was the only one in the room. As he turned to walk away from the door, he hears loud crashing and banging coming from inside the room. He immediately unlocks the door and steps inside. What he finds is that all the desks and chairs have been thrown all around the room. Drawers from the teacher's desk were ripped out and papers strewn across the room. There is no way any possible human could have been in that room and done that damage in a matter of seconds, then run out without the janitor noticing. As I was reading your website, I was recalling my own happenings. None were ever harmful to me, but I do sleep with the light on most of the time. I believe I have a following, whether it be the same ghost or if I have some attraction for them. It started when I was about 4 years old. I had this imaginary friend. I named him Jingles. From what I am told, I do not recall any part of Jingles other than what I was told by my family. I made my friend Jingles so believable that everyone in my family actually started to believe there really was someone named Jingles. I would talk to him, play with him, and of course, if anything was broken or stolen, Jingles did it. If I was good and got a treat, Jingles had to get one too. Jingles remained my friend until I reached first grade and moved to a new home. While in the kitchen with my sisters and mother, a man's voice from the woods called my name. I was about 8 years old then. We all froze with our mouths dropped to the floor and our hearts racing. All four of us could not have imagined that someone called our name. I was young, so my mother made a joke about it, and it was forgotten. Throughout my childhood, strange things happened in this house. Images were seen out of the corner of my eye and my family's eyes, but we would just chalk it up to our imaginations. Certain toys would flip in the air, stuff like that. I was scared for the moment, but never afraid to be in the house. Over the years, we have found what I believe to be cow skulls in the backyard. 2 were found, but no one in the street has any cows. We don't know where they came from. This house that I lived in as a child eventually became my home. My sister lived in the in-law apartment below me. She would always ask me what I was doing up there, because she would always, even when I wasn't home, hear jumping and walking around. What makes this so strange is that once I moved out of the house, the noises stopped. After moving out of my parents' house and into my own home about 9 months ago, there seems to be extra guests. I hear voices, but can't make out what they are saying. I often hear a muffled radio sound. I hear running water. The house is always making house noises, but around 4 to 5 a.m., the noises stop and the house is dead silent. Often a cool breeze would find me, even when there is no wind. I can't explain the feeling that I'm not alone. My children, 9 years old and 8 years old, keep saying that they want to move because they think the house is haunted. I don't think moving is going to solve that problem. A little background on the house I own. It is 30 years old and a waterfront property. I found out that the owner of the home died of cancer, not in the house, but has died. There have been 11 deaths around the lake, and they've all died of the same cancer. When I was 9, my grandfather died in the dining room of his house. It was not unexpected. He had been very ill and was bedridden. Shortly after his death, we moved in with my grandmother due to the fact that she was also ill. She was a very unhappy and hateful person. She blamed all life's injustices on my late grandfather and hated him for dying. After we had moved in with her, we realized how serious her illness was and took her to the doctor. She had Alzheimer's. As her illness progressed, my parents could no longer take care of her, so they placed her in a nursing home. Big mistake. She transferred all of her anger from my late grandfather onto my father. During the last stages of her illness, she would repeatedly tell us that she did not want to be buried near my grandfather, that she had spent all of her living years with him, and she did not want to spend eternity next to him. Well, as fate would have it, my grandmother passed away. Funds were tight, and we not only had to bury with my grandfather, but her casket was placed on top of his. We had no other choice, because all of the extra money we had for her funeral was used to care for her in the home. Anyway, on with the story. After my grandmother's death, strange things began to happen. During dinner, the back door would just fly open, or at night, the sheet would be tucked around my body while I slept. We always made jokes that say that grandfather was home, or he was looking in on us. Then, things took a turn for the worse. One night, my father awoke to the sensation of his legs being pressed into the waterbed mattress. Once he was fully awake, he realized he could not move, and whatever was pressing him into the mattress was continuing up his body. He glanced over to get my mother's attention, but could not speak. This entity was now cutting off his breathing. Finally, he thought, "Mom, I am sorry. I had nowhere else to put you." And then it all stopped, as fast as it started. The next morning at breakfast was when Dad told us about his experience. The next night I had a similar experience, but chalked it up to dreaming. I figured that I heard my dad telling us about his experience, and that I was just dreaming based on that. Now, let's jump ahead 9 years. I'm married, and have just given birth to my first son. It was morning time, and my husband already left for work. I thought I would just take a short nap and rest, while that baby was not fussing. So I doze off to that place between sleep and wakefulness, where you're not fully totally asleep, but resting. The next thing that happens is something that I'll never forget. I begin to feel my body being pressed down into my waterbed mattress. I could not open my eyes, but I knew I was awake. I could hear the television and my son cooing. I could not move, and then I began to hear this voice, a horrible, evil voice that not even a word can describe, saying, "You know I love you." This went on for what seemed like an eternity, but was only probably about 2 minutes. Then, in my mind, I thought, dear God, what is my baby seeing? And just as quickly as it started, it stopped. I've not had many experiences since then, and that was just 2 years ago. My question is, was it my angry grandmother or something else? If anyone has any suggestions, please email me. Hey Phantoms, first of all, I wanted to apologize for you guys because you guys deserve a video, so thank you for listening to this video. Now comment, like, share, and subscribe, because this had a bunch of stories that were awesome, and I know I slurred and I know I messed up my words, but it doesn't matter because I just want to share this video with you guys, and I want you guys to share this video with other people, and we can all share it together, just like Oprah, where everybody gets a car, except you get a video, and everybody gets a video. Thank you guys, but thank you so much again. Seriously guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm gonna need it because I suck at narrating, I guess, and I would just like help, and you guys are always there for me. So in the comment section below, let me hear from you, because it's been a while and I just want to hear you guys talk, even if it's just textually. It doesn't matter to me. I like hearing your voice in text form. Aha! No, but seriously guys, I'm gonna cut this out really quick. Thanks for commenting as usual, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm so tired guys, but I love you, and I'll never leave you. See you in the next video.